Welcome to episode 10 of Cosmic Motion, an audio program where we discuss motion pictures, good, bad, and ugly, and always interesting throughout the cinematic cosmos. We will be talking about many elements of this film, and we'll definitely spoil some aspects. Please watch the film first, and then come back, kick off your shoes, and join our discussion. I'm here with my esteemed colleague, Colin, who is an editor of episodic programs.
Correct.
And you are here with?
What do you mean? Oh, I'm supposed to cue you up, Bill? We're doing this now?
Let's do it. Siskel and Ebert, dude.
Oh, man. Well, does that mean that we're going to end up hating each other and then loving each other?
Hope so.
And I am joined by William Boudel, who is a director, actor, raconteur, all the tours.
And this week, we have a guest, Antony Berrios. Antony Berrios is a Telly Award-winning writer, creator, and editor with over 25 years of experience in the media and entertainment industry, specializing in TV and film. He recently completed the feature-length documentary Sonic Dreams, which explores the life and work of Los Angeles-based artist and musician Brian Cooper. Sonic Dreams has garnered awards at prestigious festivals, including the Rotterdam Independent Film Festival and the Los Angeles Indie Short Fest. Coincidentally, it just played yesterday here in Los Angeles. His previous film, Tumble, received numerous accolades and was prominently featured at New Filmmakers Los Angeles. Welcome, Tony.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to tell us about the screenings of Sonic Dreams?
We just had a screening at this great place in Pasadena called Healing Force of the Universe. Definitely, if you've not been there, you should definitely go. It's a record store / event space. Yeah, it was a great screening. We filled the place up. And so we had Brian, who is the artist, and he's also a musician, who I did the documentary about, also performed at the screening as well. So, yeah.
Really cool. I want to go back a bit and ask you where your passion for movies began. Do you see a film that inspired you as a child? Were your parents interested in movies? How did that start?
You know, I was a kind of a loner child growing up. I grew up in South Orange County. I had a few friends. I was part of this sort of punk rock scene there in high school. And I had some friends that we would just get together and we started to just sort of watch movies. And it sort of just transpired. It was just sort of this organic thing that just, I don't know how it grew, but it grew.
Movie nights?
Yeah, movie nights.
Okay.
It was so wild. So we had all these punk rock kids watching movies. And
did you guys ever watch Suburbia by Penelope Spheres?
We did watch Suburbia with Penelope Spheres, and went to Fender's Ballroom in Long Beach before it closed. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I really got obsessed with a lot of foreign films. You know, we also lived in the advent of things like Select TV and On TV, which were these sort of cable before, paid cable movie subscription things in Los Angeles in the 80s and stuff. And they would play like 8.5. Yeah. And they would play Bergman. They would play the Silence trilogy, and they would play like Tarkovsky. They would play like, Stalker and all these films that I just sort of really got obsessed with. And then I started to get obsessed with early Woody Allen. And I was like Love and Death and like...
What age is this roughly?
I was probably like 13, 14 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sophisticated viewing taste.
So I started to just sort of dive into all of that.
Was Z Channel around when you were that old, or was it gone?
Z Channel was around, or Select TV.
Okay.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting, time. And then they used to have these little things you could put on there that would prevent children from watching certain shows, certain shows and stuff. And so I learned how to get rid of that. So I would watch these crazy horror movies and stuff. So I saw Halloween and I saw, Friday the 13th. And, I was just watching these movies sometimes at, late at night when my parents would go to sleep.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was just, they were great. Yeah, I had a lot of fun,
That's terrific. And did you think about anything with regards to, I want to do that. I want to pick up a camera. Or anything like that?
Yeah, what happened was I started my stepfather had a lot of electronics, and so he had a couple of VCRs, he had a couple of just all kinds of stuff. So I would end up recording, I just started doing this. I would record television shows, and then I found a way to not record it, but I could play other music. So I would kind of do my own little weird edit assembly of like montage stuff with music, and I didn't know where that was going to lead, but I would just do that, and I would have my friends come over and go, look what I did. They would just be like, what is this? They're like, wow, this is kind of neat. So anyway, that just sort of transpired into me thinking about films and filmmaking, and so at 15 years old, I wrote a play, and it was my own sort of take on the Sinbad fable, and it was all based. It was all about like it was like that fable intertwined with like the story of like kids, and like so it was like one kid who was Sinbad and like the rest of the kids against the community and against school and stuff.
Yeah, kind of your own Suburbia in a way.
Kinda. Yeah. So, but yeah, and it just fed my love for film, and I would talk about to friends, oh, you got to see this film, oh, you got to see, this Chris Marker, and they're like, who's Chris Marker? And I'm like, oh, you got to see this film. He's an incredible experimental filmmaker. I was also into music by 4AD, and 4AD had like a real specific kind of graphic style that they would do for their album covers and everything, but then they would also have a very specific style of music videos. And so I living where MTV was actually doing music videos and stuff like that. So that also sort of really inspired me, the way they would do those videos. And one filmmaker that really inspired me when I was a kid was Mark Pellington. Mark Pellington did something called the United States of Poetry that was in the 80s, late 80s, and it was so inspiring the way that he would basically take spoken word poetry and he would shoot sort of like videos around people talking, doing the poetry and stuff like that. It was sort of put together to, in my mind, the shooting and the montage and the editing and all that started to kind of like percolate in my head about, oh wow, this is amazing. Like, how can I do that? So then getting a VHS camera and a Super 8 camera and started to do short films and stuff like that, little in camera stuff and everything. So yeah, and then a good friend of mine, we used to go to trips to Santa Monica to the Nort and see great foreign movies. Go see Bergman.
Sure.
Go see,
Well, so, and, our listeners can't see you, but, you just exude Orange County so much. I mean, he came in wearing board shorts and a flat, a hat with like a flat bill on it. And he's Sig Heiling when he got in here. So I just, the contrast of a young you watching Bergman and Tarkovsky is just, no, that's awesome. That's really cool.
I've changed.
Did you wind up going to film school, or did you bypass that, or what was your...
I did. So I ended up going to a school in San Francisco called the Academy of Art College. Okay. So I went there when their motion pictures department was brand new.
Okay.
They were one of the first schools to actually get Avid. And yeah, I just totally fell into editing. So I always thought, I saw a lot of other filmmaker friends of mine who were trying to make a living. Like, we're all working as waiters or working in bookstores and doing whatever we have to do to make a living, right?
Totally.
So I thought, well, you know what? What if I became an editor? What if I became an editor to be able to sustain myself and learn a trade? Because back then it was still looked upon as like a tactile trade, because they were still learning how to cut on flatbeds. There's something very mechanical, really great about learning how to do that, learning how to cut film. And they did have that there, which
were
was
you
great.
Using like a Moviola, a Chem, a Steenbeck?
They had both a Chem and they mostly had a Moviola. They had both. But I actually, that was all great, but I kind of fell into Avid, and I was in that room. There was a lot of other students. It was kind of, because it was new, a lot of people were like, what's that? I don't know what that is. Because they also had the tape-to-tape Sony controllers. Yeah. And so that's how they actually taught editing, was on the Sony controllers, and then they went actually up to the Avid.
Right, right.
So, but it was, living in New York, in San Francisco, in the 90s. And you can find a 2-bedroom place for $750 a month near Golden Gate Park. I mean,
seriously?
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. So, so I ended up going there. I met people who I'm still friends with today who are also filmmakers. There's a great independent film coalition in San Francisco at the time. They had the Bay Area Video Coalition. They had the Film Arts Foundation, which pretty much aren't there anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. Bay Area, BayVac was amazing because you could just go there and like rent a camera, go into an edit room and cut. And like it was really nurturing for being an artist. Plus, they also had the Independent Film Project. West was there as well. I got to know people there, people like Henry Rosenthal, who's a really incredible producer in San Francisco, who was in the punk band Crime, and who also produced films like Vanya on 42nd Street. He produced a lot of films for John Jost. Elias Merheim, who did Shadow of a Vampire, but he also did a lot of music videos for like Marilyn Manson and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, and he did Begotten.
He did Begotten.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of really great, incredible talent. Lynn Hirschfield. There's a lot of really great, incredible independent film scene at that time in San Francisco, which was incredible to be a part of. I mean, people were having underground film screenings and all that kind of stuff. So it was great. I left there. I also worked for Silicon Graphics there too. I also, when they were doing this whole thing with Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen, when they were doing Jurassic Park. So I worked there, but I just in their media department, video department, and stuff like that. So it was great. It was a really good time living there.
Well, today's film that we're going to talk about is Nobody's Fool from 1994.
Yes.
What did you guys think of Nobody's Fool?
We're just diving straight in. Well, when I think about the great cities and the great American places of civilization, essentially. So you just spoke of San Francisco. I can't think of any better analog to a beautiful city like that than North Bath in upstate New York. It just evokes such warm and wonderful memories.
So the author apparently grew up in a similar area. It was actually filmed in Beacon in the Hudson Valley. North Bath is fictional, but it's based on his childhood town, and they paid $40,000 a location fee to use the town. I was like, that sounds pretty cheap.
That's
for a Hollywood production to just come in and take over your town.
Right.
It's quite authentic and cold.
Yeah.
Lots of snow. I mean, you see it, you feel it.
Apparently, it was a pretty historic blizzard at the time, and it lends itself to the atmosphere, I suppose, of the film.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love upstate, so I'm all into watching these guys, sniffle their way through a movie, personally. But it was produced by two people, one of whom is a bit notorious now. Arlene Donovan, who is a literary editor, she frequently collaborated with Benton, and she actually just passed away in February 2024. The other producer is Scott Rudin.
Yeah.
Bit of a controversial figure.
Swimming with Sharks.
Swimming with Sharks is allegedly based on him. Allegedly. We know when the guy's getting staplers and things thrown at him, just think of Scott Rudin. Yeah, I mean, by all accounts, a pretty toxic producer with very good taste in projects, or at least with people around him who had good taste. Who knows?
Sure.
I mean, he worked on things like Regarding Henry, Clueless, Bringing Out the Dead, Zoolander. I mean, he's quite eclectic. Team America, Social Network.
Yep.
If you guys want to find out more about Rudin, The Hollywood Reporter did a whole expose on his behavior a few years ago. I think something like 37 or something assistants came out and just started talking about his behavior when the Me Too movement happened. They're like, oh yeah, but don't forget about this guy.
No, I've worked in situations where there's been people like that will be nameless.
Yeah, right. I don't understand where that comes from, and I hope it's going away. Because it's quite distracting from the actual projects at hand.
Absolutely.
It was put out by Paramount Studios. This is the last film under Paramount Communications before it was sold to Viacom in '94.
Yeah.
It was shot November 93 to February 94. Good chunk of a schedule when dramas had that kind of a schedule.
Yeah.
U.S. and Canadian distribution handled by Paramount. International was handled by Capella Films. Went into release December 23rd, 1994 to qualify for the Oscars. And then it was released wide January 13th, 95. It's directed by Robert Benton, who also adapted the book. What do you guys think? What are your overall impressions?
I mean, I like Robert Benton. I think he's I love Kramer versus Kramer. I think that's but I do think that this film, we were talking a little bit before everything came on here. The film for me definitely has a sort of a microscopic sort of like almost foreign look at this small town, which is really interesting. But the whole movie is all hinged, of course, on Paul Newman. I mean, the movie I don't think could work without any other actor except for Paul Newman. I mean, it's such he's an interesting actor because in so many ways, one of the things that's really interesting about him is he actually became even better when he got older.
He's amazing in this film. And
he's so good. And the subtleties in how he plays Sully, the character, and how he sort of moves sort of like this fish through a pond with these characters kind of ebb and flowing around.
That's a good way to put it.
Between his son and his sort of whatever's going on with Melanie Griffith, that sort of thing. But the movie in all is like, the idea of this sort of, we've seen it before, the older man who's coming towards the end of his life and he has the heart of gold, but he wasn't a perfect man. He made a lot of mistakes, but he's this character that's very redeeming, which is, and he plays that character with a lot of complexities within his performance, which I think is interesting in how it becomes this full realized character.
100%.
And I think there aren't very many performances like that anymore, unfortunately.
I was thinking about how well he holds this film together and what a presence he is on screen without looking like he's even breaking a sweat.
Yeah, it's fairly effortless.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
amazing.
We can cut this out, but Colin, do you want to give us the plot, like a rough plot sort of what happens? It doesn't have to be long.
Yeah, that's fine. So, I mean, Sully is the tenant of, is it Jessica Tandy, who this is her last role. And he's living in this town, essentially a man in his 60s living with a past full of regrets. And this is not a plot-driven film by any stretch of the imagination, but he is, traipsing through this scene of characters and character actors where he's kind of trying to come to terms with his past, but kind of doing it begrudgingly. And at a certain point, he is kind of reconnected with his son, played by Dylan Walsh. And I suppose you could say that he discovers a new purpose or a new lease on life, but that discovery is very subtle. The film is just following this person on his journey and the story of a man who's confronting his past in a very belabored way.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Does that summarize it very
That's
well?
Pretty good. Let's also add in there that there's another friend who is played by Bruce Willis, Roebuck, and he typically hires Sully, but Sully injured himself on one of Roebuck's jobs, and he's trying to get money out of Roebuck, but they still play poker together and are friends. That's kind of one of the fun.
It is.
It's like they're kind of enemies, but they're also friends.
Newman's always really great at the pokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He does that on the writing, obviously, but just the way he delivers those lines, a little poking at each other, it's really great.
And Bruce Willis's Roebuck character is a bit of a philanderer, and so his wife, Melanie Griffith, is upset with him, and she's kicked him out of the house, so he's just like sleeping on people's couches, including Sully's. And going back to work and sleeping with whichever secretary he has working there at the time. So yeah, that's basically the plot. I mean, like Colin said, there's not a lot in terms of plot points. It's more of a character study, and it all revolves around Newman and this Sully character and how he relates to other people.
Well, I mean, this certainly is a who's who of. Well, I hesitate to even call them character actors because I feel like they're all leads in their own right at this point. But I mean, who are some of the background in this book?
Well, we have, of course, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah.
What's
funny is Hoffman's always great.
Oh yeah.
But in this role, he's almost a little too peaked for me, playing the cop. Like he gets I get it. He's the overzealous, unhappy, probably bitter and lonely cop, and he's wound up way too tight.
Yeah.
And Hoffman does it beautifully. I wish Benton had pulled him back just a little bit.
What's the matter now, Raymer? Broken taillight. This is the third time. One more time, Sully, and I'm impounding this heap of yours.
Jesus Christ. Raymer, it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, if you fixed it the first time, this wouldn't happen. It's $15. You can mail it in or you can come by the station. If it's not paid within 30 days, you'll be held in contempt.
Boy, I hope you get laid sometime soon.
Yeah, someday, smart ass. I'm gonna nail you. Hey, when you least expect it.
Yeah.
That said, he's great. I mean, he's still great. And when he gets punched in the nose, kudos to the makeup effects people who did the I thought his bloody nose looked very authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his subsequent bruise when he's,
Oh my gosh, he looks amazing.
Yeah.
He looks amazing when he's in the office. It looks like he's been called to the principal's office with that black eye.
Yeah, I think the other thing about this film that was really striking to me that I really enjoy in, I hate to keep saying European film, but every background character is a fully realized character.
Mm-hmm.
You could go into the story of each,
they all have their own worlds.
These different worlds.
Yeah.
They're not just background of an obstacle for Paul Newman's character.
They're not just plot functions.
They're not just plots. That's what makes the movie also feel just so fully realized and so enjoyable to watch, because it's, you could be watching one of the characters, like even the Bruce Willis character. Well, that could have been a whole story. Oh, what's he doing? What's up with that? What happened to him prior to all of this other stuff that happened? It really sort of adds fullness to it, which was really enjoyable.
Yeah. And to your point earlier when we were off mic, this film, Benton has this, I think, knack for combining a European and a Hollywood sensibility. This film both feels like a Hollywood character piece, and at the same time, it feels European in the way it approaches it sometimes, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel like this movie comes along in an interesting point in Newman's career. And in fact, I kind of remember sort of the excitement for this film at the time was kind of generated around, I don't know, Return to Form. I mean, I guess he had done Color of Money maybe directly prior to this.
No, that was like 10 years earlier.
Hussar Proxy.
Sorry, yes. But he, I mean, he was doing movies like Absence of Malice and things like that. And this was a bizarre time for him. And I do remember this. But he does, and you were talking about sort of the gravity that he has. And I think of the scene in Wayne's World 2.
Penelope Spheris, taking it back to Penelope.
Well, so there's this sequence at the end where Wayne's kind of like trying to, it's a very aping The Graduate, and he's trying to get the woman over. And he pulls into a gas station, and he's like, "Hey, do you know where such and such street?" And the actor starts to deliver this wistful monologue about, I remember a girl on Gordon Street. And Wayne stops the action and he says, "I'm sorry, can we do better than this? I mean, I know it's a bit part, but can we do better than this?" And then they shuffle Charlton Heston until they finish it off. And it's a great little gag from a movie that has kind of a lot of throwaway gags in it. But, and he just does this little bit role and totally, evokes tears. And it's like, I guess gravity is the only way that I can describe it with Paul Newman. He just has this way of being that kind of feels effortless. Yeah. And I don't know if this movie works without him. I don't know. I mean, can you think of anybody else doing this role and making it work?
Okay, so to that point, I mean, there aren't a lot of people. I feel like Hollywood has this thing in the last few decades, maybe, where they're putting people, really good-looking character actors in starring roles, but they're not stars. This is a thing with me. I don't know if it's for other people as well. So, yeah, you're right. I don't feel like there are a lot of those people, but I do feel like maybe Clooney could do something like this.
Interesting.
I feel like he's got that movie star gravitas, and maybe he could carry something like this. Maybe he needs to be a little older. I don't know. I don't know how old Newman was. He's playing 60, I think.
I think he was older. Yeah.
He was probably a little older,
Yeah,
right?
he was. Yeah. I mean, there are, during that time, other actors playing similar roles, like Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau. There was even Peter O'Toole was doing roles that had that sort of kind of similar character. But today, maybe Clooney. Yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah,
I mean, as far as older actors.
Yeah.
Younger actors, this may be controversial. I feel like Gosling's going to age well. I feel like he's going to get better and better.
Sure.
And I like him now, but I mean, I know some people, I'm a fan.
Mostly value add, I feel. But I think that, like, I'm thinking 94. I mean, maybe Gene Hackman?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't know. I mean, like, it's just that...
Hackman would have been more cantankerous, right?
Yeah, he would have been.
Yeah. But the ability to sell your intention with very little, I suppose. And I don't know a lot of actors that could do that. And that's not to say that this period is not rife with, very talented older actors. Tony just mentioned a few of them, but I just can't see it working with anybody else.
No, no, it was definitely a Paul Newman film, and Robert Benton had worked with him quite a bit. So I do think that they spent time. He knew exactly what he wanted. He knew exactly what he could get from Paul Newman for this role.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what, I mean, was it like during that time, he had, Newman had done a string of films where some of them where he would just kind of like phone it, not really, he never really phoned it in, but it wasn't anything like real sort of like a full meal, or this film really, really offered that. Of course, one of my favorite Newman films is The Verdict. I think he's just, that's such an amazing performance.
Which, by the way, I think Bruce Willis is an extra in The Verdict.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. He is. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of Willis, it sounds like he was very, very eager to do this role, and he really wanted to work with Benton.
Yes.
And it sounds like he worked for scale on this.
Yes, he was usually paid $15 million for his action films at the time.
Well, after Return of Bruno, you could just name your own price, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he probably got that much when he was doing concerts. And he took $1,200 a week SAG-AFTRA scale to work on this for like 22 days or something. So that's a sacrifice,
What had Bruce Willis done before this film, I wonder? Was it Hudson Hawk? It wasn't Hudson
Well, right
Hawk.
before this, he did he shot Pulp Fiction around this time too.
Oh, he did. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, and Pulp Fiction came out before this.
Yeah,
so this is right before that comes out and kind of brings him back again.
He had just done Striking Distance, a classic.
Soon after this, he was going to do the remake of The Jackal, which I've never seen. Day of the Jackal, The Jackal.
Okay,
I think people have good things to say about that '97 Jackal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, say what we will about Willis's talent or personal life, he made some key choices at strategic moments in his career in the 90s that probably kept him from just being like the diehard moonlighting guy.
Yeah.
He could have easily fallen into kind of obscurity or been a joke.
Oh, right.
And he just kept doing interesting things like 12 Monkeys, Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of, this guy can act. Like, and the question for me at a certain point is Bruce trying on this movie? That's kind of because he would do kind of garbage in between these great movies.
Totally. Yeah.
And then you would see him really light up and try to do something. I'll say this, and we'll go into Colin's question about character actors because there's a number of them in this that are really interesting.
Yeah.
But I feel like I wasn't completely convinced by him in this movie. It may be that everybody else's performance is so strong, and it may also be my own bias of seeing Bruce playing action heroes or smarmy guys, with the kind of sideways smile. I thought he was okay. I just wasn't completely convinced. I can see him acting at times, and I feel like he unbalances the scenes for me a bit, whereas Newman always feels like he's right in the pocket.
Right.
Now, granted, it's a film built around Newman's character, but I don't know what it is. How do you guys feel about him? Are you happy with his performance?
I think there was a what I like to say is more of kind of like a sleepy performance from Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
I think I felt like it was almost there. Like almost
I agree.
Almost there.
I agree.
Like,
almost there is right. Yes.
And I just felt like he was either very self-conscious of his own performance. And Robert Benton, I don't know how they were working that out.
Yeah, I wonder.
I think it seems like maybe he was very intimidated by Paul Newman. I don't know, and that kind of came across with his sort of stiltedness in some scenes, where he was maybe wanting to run and hide or something than do the scene. I don't know, but in some ways though, that did add to that character. In some ways to me as well.
Yeah, it does. It does separate. There is a distance.
There is a distance
between him and the rest of the people in the movie.
But the distance is a little too far. Sometimes.
I agree. That's a great way to put it.
In other words, when you're working with actors, something you want to say bigger or smaller sometimes for performances. In this case, he was a little too small. It was like, you know, we wanted to have a little bit more from Bruce, a little bit more realized. And yeah, I don't know.
More of an emotional life. I didn't feel an emotional life in his character the way I felt it in Newman. And again, maybe it's unfair to compare them.
But they also might have done that for that specific reason, for the contrast between them.
Well, the thing is, and you know, so this film, I think that Bill mentioned is it's based on a book by Richard Russo.
I think I hadn't, so thank you for doing that.
Okay, well, so and Richard Russo is like a Pulitzer Prize winning author, and you know, I get the sense that a lot of what that book is geared towards trying to say is, in the politics of a small town, your relationship with any given person can take different shapes given what your responsibilities are or what your place and whatever the the caste system of a small town might be. And
sure, yeah.
I get the sense that they're trying to say something about that with Newman's relationship with Bruce Willis's character in this film, but to your point, Tony, I think that there's not enough of a differentiation between Bruce Willis as an antagonist, you know, when they're in lawsuit mode with one another, and Bruce Willis as just a friend and his poker buddy. And there need to be two modes there. And I'm not accusing Bruce Willis of not having the range, but it's not here.
He feels a little distracted.
Yes.
You know, there's this funny story that Werner Herzog told about having a certain actress on his film Bad Lieutenant Protocol New Orleans, which we should talk about.
We absolutely should.
So Eva Mendes came on, and she was like determined to be on the film, and he was like, "You can't bring your entourage." And so she didn't. And I feel like just off screen, there's like a giant trailer for Bruce with like a whole entourage. Maybe he's got a guy maybe writing quips that he could maybe throw in, suggest to Benton. I know for a fact that he had his own makeup and hair separate from the other people, you know? So, I mean, that kind of thing, I don't know. I feel like if I was an actor, it might take me away from the world of the movie that the other people are in, that the normal people are in, you know?
Yeah.
The whole, because he's a movie star at this point. He's a huge movie star. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it says something that he decided to work for scale, and it sounds like he really wanted to work with Benton, and so I'll give him a little bit of credit, but I do think that he's not bringing what he needs to bring to this role, I suppose. But I also don't want to fall. I don't want to hammer on him too badly.
No, I don't either.
There's a subtlety which I appreciate, and some of the Bruce Willis smarm that we get from some of the movies around this period is not there. So
yeah, and I think he has a great moment when Sully walks out with his wife, with Roebuck's wife, and Melanie Griffith, and there's this look. He's kind of looking over his shoulder back at, and you can see like he can't say what he feels, but you see it on his face. And I was like, that's great acting. So there are great moments with him.
There are some really great moments. Yeah. You know, I don't want to backtrack for a second. You know, anher actor I thought...
We jump all around, so don't worry.
Another actor that I thought might be a good... could play this role would be Robert Redford.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
I think Robert Redford definitely, you know, that's why they were so good together.
Yeah.
In Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They both have this sort of thing about them.
There's an inner life.
There's this inner life, yeah. And I think if the movie would have been with Robert Redford, it definitely would have been a different film, but I think you could still get that depth of that sort of character that is being done. It would be different, of course, be a Redford thing.
Right.
But I think at that time, I think another actor that could have done it, pulled it off really well, would have been Robert
Redford. It's a great idea. I think, and he probably would have needed to be 10 or 20 years younger, but you guys were talking about Jack Lemmon. I was thinking Walter Matthau.
Sure.
Walter Matthau as Sully would have been, he could have done this like when he was in his 60s easily.
Absolutely.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
So some other character actors in this film, I think Colin already mentioned Jessica Tandy. She plays Beryl Peoples, and that's who Sully lives with. He rents a room from her house, and their relationship it's one of the smaller relationships, and yet Tandy imbues it with life. And there's a great moment toward the end of the film where she basically says, I'm betting on him. Yeah. Like I know he's going to come through eventually. He keeps screwing up, but eventually he's going to do the right thing and be, win essentially.
She's very sweet in the film, and I think that quote at the end is sort of us as an audience. You know what I mean? In some ways, looking at him, wanting to root for him.
Oh, 100%. We want him, yeah.
Which I think is a great line.
There's a rumor around town that you did a good deed. You stuck your nose where it didn't belong.
I know it. I'm an old woman, though. I'm entitled.
Well, you're forgiven.
Thank you. Are you sure I can't interest you in a cup of tea?
No. And how many times do I have to tell you?
Other people change their minds occasionally. I keep thinking you might.
You do.
Yeah, the whole film, we want him to improve the estranged relationship with his son, to figure out how to handle Carl Roebuck, the Bruce Willis character, and his wife, who keeps flirting with him, and also to just be able to support himself. He's actually about to get kicked out of Jessica Tandy's house because her son wants him out and wants to do some business development in the area. But okay, so Jessica Tandy, Melanie Griffith plays Toby Roebuck. That's Bruce Willis's wife in the movie. Dylan Walsh plays Peter Sullivan. I think he's incredible in this film.
Oh, he's great.
I think the subtle performance that he gives. My problem with his character isn't him; it's the writing. One of the things in the script that I wish they didn't do was they hit on the father-son issues in the dialogue a little too constantly for a while. Kind of like, there's like 2 or 3 in a row where he's like, yeah, it would have been nice to have a dad at home. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, it was a little on the nose.
It was a little on the nose a few times.
You bringing a kid to work today?
Yeah, Mom had to take her out to the doctor. Don't worry, you won't be any trouble.
Another point. Dumb, what if he gets hurt?
How?
He could fall in a ditch, he could run into a nail, I don't know. What's so funny?
Nothing.
I mean, I worry about him and I never worried about you.
Well, you skipped a generation, didn't you?
Virtually any scene that they're in together, there's some kind of reminder of their past that they never got to have.
It's the moments between those lines, the looks, his performance about his father.
Fantastic.
Those are the moments that are just like, oh God. You know, those are great.
And it's funny because I was watching Dylan Walsh and I'm thinking, this guy's great. Why haven't I seen him in anything? Only to look him up and realize he's one of the main people from Nip Tuck, which I had no idea. I'd never watched.
He's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or it's because he's the blandest bland in Hollywood. Bill, what are you talking about? Dylan Walsh is absolutely bereft of wattage.
You didn't like him?
It's not that I don't like him. It's like it's like watching I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh, but
it's okay.
It's like watching an automaton. I mean, at one point they tried to make him like a leading man, and like they put him in Congo. It's like,
I didn't see Congo, but I don't know that he's a leading man. I just thought he was really effective as this kind of sheepish, guy who's estranged from his wife.
I think the casting feels right. I mean, I'm not going to harp on the film for that, but
I think him playing the son here, who wishes he'd had a dad, and just the way they've dressed him too. Like, kudos to the costume department. That like he looks so 90s professor, like small university professor. That I'm like, they got it exactly right. I know this guy, I get it.
He does bring big divorced guy energy to this film for sure.
He does.
Even though he's not quite divorced, but they're estranged, right?
I think it's so funny that you think he has no wattage. I disagree, but that's okay.
That's fair.
Let's go on to some of the, maybe you think that Pruitt Taylor Vince has a bit of wattage.
Yeah, I think he's got heat for sure.
So he had just come off of a film that brought him to the fore from his sort of character actor obscurity. It was Heavy by James Mangold.
Yeah.
Benton casts him in this. I think he's terrific. Not a false note. The relationship he has with Newman, where he's like basically Newman's closest pal and follows him around like a sheepdog. Hmm? And he gets upset when Dylan Walsh, Peter Sullivan, is kind of getting more familiar with his own father, and they're spending more time together because, hey, that's my buddy you're taking away from me. I thought that felt really true.
Yeah.
Well, he's one of these guys that I feel like whenever he pops up anything, he's always a value add, and he had a lot of interesting roles before this. He was in Angel Heart. think he's in Barfly, right?
Yep. Might be. I haven't seen him.
And then he's since become kind of like the serial killer archetype, I suppose. I maybe we have identity to think for that, but I think the guy is immensely talented for sure.
I agree, and I love his eyes. Those shifting eyes, the way his eyes dance.
Yeah.
Is so unique.
Yep.
Now, I read a kind of a critique of this film where they summarize him as the village idiot, and I feel like that's a bit reductive.
No, totally.
I don't think. Yeah.
I feel like he's got there's more nuance to that character.
There's way more going on there.
Yeah.
Some other character actors that we take a look at. Gene Saks plays basically an ineffective, lovable lawyer.
Right.
He's Sully's lawyer, and he doesn't win a lot. But
named
Sully,
Worf.
Yeah, Sully keeps him on anyway because they're buddies. Worfley.
Yeah.
And Joseph Summer. I don't know if you guys recognize this guy, but he's in a lot of stuff. Yeah. Clive Peoples Jr. He's Jessica Tandy's. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's Jessica Tandy's son, and Sully calls him the Bank.
Yeah.
The thing I think of when I see this guy is, did you ever see a movie called Daryl?
Oh yeah, I remember Daryl.
About the kid who's a robot, essentially AI robot. Yeah.
I think it was a Disney film. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it did very well, but I watched that movie so many times as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, Joseph Summer always used to play like the company mean guy or the evil guy,
Yeah. So. Well, he's the dad in Daryl.
Yeah.
They cast him against type,
that's right. He's the dad in Daryl.
He's the kindly father.
That's right.
Okay. He loves him.
I mean, the only thing I could think of him from was Dirty Harry.
Is he in Dirty Harry?
Yeah.
But
the
first one or one of the sequels?
The first.
Okay.
Okay.
And I believe he's in the movie Witness as well.
Okay. Yes, he is. You're right.
He plays the cop, the bad.
He is in Witness.
Yeah.
Also, there's Angelica Torn. Plays Ruby, the first secretary who leaves, who we see showing her gifts. She is
related to Rip.
She's Rip Torn's daughter, which I had no idea. Did you guys? I thought, who's this gorgeous woman? I was thinking, but like I didn't know she was Rip Torn's daughter. And then the other, what would be a good way to put this? Secretary. The other secretary that Bruce Willis has a thing with is Dee Dee, and that's played by Shanna Laumeister Stern. She's the daughter of a pretty well-known photographer. But anyway.
Well, she's got a front and center role in
she does.
third act of this.
They both do.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess what we should explain to the audience is that both of his secretaries wind up topless at a poker table at some point in the movie, which is interesting. An interesting little quirk of the film.
It's a choice. It's a
choice.
Yep.
Alexander Goodwin, who I don't know, and I don't know what he's done since, but he plays the little boy Will. I thought he was adorable and well directed and quite good.
While we're on the subject of Will, can we just get this out of the way right now?
Uh-oh.
What the fuck is Whacker's problem?
So Whacker is both a good part of the script and a bad part for me.
Yes.
He's a little bit wah.
Yes.
He feels like he came out of National Lampoon's Vacation.
Absolutely. And that's there is a bit of an not atonality. There's a bit of a tone shifting that happens in this film that was disappointing to me because I feel like when it is subtle, it works quite well.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But then it does kind of shift into this kind of Hallmark mode occasionally.
What I wonder is that in the novel or is that Benton?
I don't know.
Yeah, that novel, I don't know. It does. See, that was one of the criticisms, I think, it has this kind of Hallmark. It's like the edge of being like a Hallmark sort of thing.
Yes.
And then when you have a character like that, it's like, okay, everybody, I'm the funny, you know what I mean? That sort of thing, it's also very on the nose,
I just was wishing that Whacker would do his best Polly Klaas impression the whole time, I just like get this kid. And it was, it's just like, stuff like that is just unnecessary.
It didn't quite work in this movie, This isn't an Adam Sandler film. This is like a character study.
It's very weird. It almost feels like an executive note.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It really does. Now,
doesn't it? So a lot of times, when those kind of things feel very weird, over the top or weird in a film, you're like, why is that there? Well, that was probably because it was a note.
That's absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Good call.
I mean, there was no Whacker in Kramer versus Kramer, right?
There's no Whacker in Kramer versus Kramer. No.
Why do they call you Crash McGee?
Yeah.
Yeah, there would have been no custody question at all. If the kid was Whacker, there would be no film.
Yeah, you can have him. Right. You can have it. Yeah. No, you have him.
Right.
He's your child.
Exactly. But what is it? So what does he do to poor Will? Like what? Because I wasn't quite sure what was going on. Does he smack his tip? What is going on?
I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah, something where somebody got hurt. Well, no, Will actually did it to Whacker because Whacker was being mean, and so he's like, "I'm warning you, Whacker."
What's taking you so long? I have to pee. Out of the way, doofus. Whacker! Whacker, I'm warning you. I really mean it this time, Whacker.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Mommy! Whacker, no, Whacker, no.
And then the cuts away, you hear a scream or whatever, and
for
Will runs away from the annoying kid to be our adorable little, like, essentially the way that Sully gets to his son is through his grandson.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like he befriends the grandson, and he's like, well, I couldn't be a good father, so I'm going to be a good grandfather, because another one of those lines from the Dylan Walsh, Peter Sullivan character is, well, why do you want to be a grandfather? You weren't even a father. And he's like, well, I got to start off fresh.
Yeah.
So,
well, because we are a show that jumps around, can I jump to the scene at the end?
Let me just say two more people.
Sure,
no, it's okay, because we keep going away, and maybe that's not a bad thing. but two other people I want to mention who are in the cast. Philip Bosco plays that judge. Mm-hmm. That guy's face is everywhere.
Yeah,
at a
he's
certain
everywhere.
Point.
Philip Bosco.
And then Margo Martindale, which everybody I think likes her. Yeah, she's in this playing Birdie. She works in the restaurant. Okay. Go ahead, jump.
No, well, so it's a Will question. I mean, Will's character seems to have a bit of a redemptive arc himself. Well, redemptive. He's a child. But there's a scene at the end in the bar where Newman tasks him with handing Worf his leg that he won at the poker game.
Yeah, I like that scene.
But what is going on in that scene? I guess I'm missing what the...
Oh, the significance is, I think that Will is a very timid boy.
Okay.
And he's very sheltered, and Newman's trying to give him a little old school boomer.
Yeah.
Here, kid, I know you're afraid of this. Remember he tells him that thing of, here's a stopwatch.
Yeah.
Try to be brave for just 1 minute, and then maybe next time try 2 minutes.
Yes.
So that's paying off that moment. He says, we're going to do the stopwatch, and you're going to take that leg to that man.
Right.
And he does it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I had forgotten about the stopwatch moment, so that gives it some significance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like overall the performances are amazing. Even, like I said, when Hoffman's a little over the top, he's still great. He's fun to watch. And as you mentioned, this is Jessica Tandy's last film. This is not far from Driving Miss Daisy, which was like late 80s.
Yeah, right.
And she had a very long and she was in The Birds, for crying out loud.
She was. Yeah.
With Tippi Hedren, who's Melanie Griffith's mother.
There you go.
Yep.
So
there's a circle there.
There's a circle. What do we want to say about the themes of the film? What is happening in this movie with Sully, his son, Roebuck, the Bruce Willis character, Melanie Griffith? Why is she constantly flirting with Sully? Sully's obviously 20 or 30 years older, maybe. Obviously still very good looking because it's Paul Newman, and he always looked good. What's going on with these people?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things, we all like a good redemption film, And I think that it's a redemption film in a way, with his family and with himself and with his sort of like, it's an internal struggle. It's an internal thing that this character is going through. And that's why we're rooting for him to sort of get over that hump, It's the idea too that I think it's also something that we can all relate to. I think that's what's so great about the film. It's very relatable in some ways.
It is.
And the relationship that he has around with all the different characters, and how the chessboard has been stacked with how his actions affect everybody around, and how he wants to redeem himself. So he wants to help the boy. He wants to do all the stuff that he didn't feel he did with his son before,
Prior to the film was something that we don't see, but that we learn through his son and others, is that Sully was married to a woman, Peter's mother, and then basically took off. They had Peter, and he took off, and Peter grew up without a father. We don't really know why he took off. We get the sense that Sully is an independent guy. He wants to live a life of personal freedom, liberty. But we do get one scene that kind of hints at what might have happened. Does anybody remember that scene? It's in a car outside of an old, decrepit house.
I mean, I suppose it's what happens in the house that is more kind of illustrative to me. It just seems like I suppose if we're talking about themes, it just seems like it's a movie about people trying to, I don't know, maybe untangle their past abuses or,
Sure.
and it's essentially, it seems like Sully comes from a seriously abusive.
That's it.
He came
That's
from
it.
that, yeah, as well.
His father used to beat the crap out of him and his mother.
Sure.
Right.
And so this is a guy who probably spent his life running for freedom, trying to stay out of situations where that he couldn't control.
Right. I mean, you get these glimpses of his past life. He talks about how he was in the Army. He talks about how he went to college. And, Dylan Walsh says something like, oh, I didn't know you, or he said how he really enjoyed going to college. I didn't know you went to college. Well, I didn't say I could fit in college. I just said I enjoyed it, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. So you get those little pieces, but yes, I mean, to your guys' points, it just seems like it's constantly a man on the run. So emotionally and logistically.
Well, and I think that this movie is him stopping running.
Yeah,
he's starting to learn to not run.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a guy figuring out how to deal with situations that maybe set off alarms in his head.
Yeah, I'm not going to run anymore.
Anymore.
And I'm going to try to face things head on,
right.
And I think that's another universal thing where, we get to a point where this is what it's done to my life. I left my wife, I've abandoned my kid. And so it's him dealing with all these choices. All we can do is try to deal with what's in front of us now.
Right.
And that's what his character is doing, is trying to deal with the stuff that's in front of him now.
Right.
Yeah. And he's doing it at an advanced age when it might be a little harder.
He is, but it also adds a question of you're never too old.
You're never too. I think that's one of the themes of the film. Don't count the old dog out.
Right.
Well, he plays a pretty hard 60, though, I have to say.
He does.
That is a.
But that makes sense for his character too.
Sure. I guess like a line that kind of illustrates the themes of this film pretty well, and I'm going to paraphrase, but it's as low wattage as I feel like Dylan Walsh can be, I do think that he is fairly well cast for this, and there's a moment between him and Sully where he says something like, well, Mom was always worried that she'd find out that your life was fun,
right,
or something like that, and he says, well, tell her not to worry, or something along those lines.
You can tell he's lived a bit of a hard life.
And
what is he at 60? He's a contractor,
right,
and that's hard work at any age. And this guy, we see him in the movie just like hauling cinder blocks and things like that onto a truck.
And that's the thing about playing a character like this. It can be a very dangerous thing for an actor to play a character like this because of the depth of the character and what they have to admit out from any dialogue at all to show the depth of what he has gone through. Mm-hmm. So, and Newman was so great at being able to do that, of showing that sort of complexity with his character psychologically with just a look.
The looks in this movie.
And the idea that the redemption that he's looking for, maybe he's not going to get, but the idea of him coming to terms with himself,
Yes, that's 100%.
And that's also a real big theme in the film. And again, any other actor playing that character, it could have just been your standard Hallmark film that had no depth or complexities involved. He added all of that. And that's the power of an actor like Paul Newman, who comes from that sort of Marlon Brando, that sort of school of method acting.
And whatever Benton did with the script, and he mostly did good things, but whatever problems he might have had with the script, he had at least 50% of directing is casting.
Absolutely,
and to put Newman in this role is a home run.
Okay, but can we briefly talk about sort of where the script does go? At least for me, a little bit.
100%, yeah. I thought we did a little bit with some of the father-son stuff, but what are some other?
To me, it's really the thing that kind of brings this back into the Hallmark territory you're talking about is, and I don't know what you would call this narrative device, but you were talking about Bad Lieutenant, and it kind of happens in that film in a very exaggerated way, where the third act of this film, all of his problems suddenly just untangle themselves very, very quickly. And it's like life, like his fortunes just reverse immediately, you know. So one moment he's in jail, the next moment Jessica Tandy has bought him a house. He wins what it's like some kind of a lottery that they do. Melanie Griffith wants to go to Hawaii with him. Suddenly Dylan Walsh wants to be his partner, you know, his business partner, and he's even getting one up on Bruce Willis, and it's just all of these things felt like they fell into place so neatly and perfectly. And again, I don't know what you would call that narrative device, but
I think some people might say Deus Ex Machina,
right? They might, but I feel like it just feels a little contrived.
I don't know that I agree with most of them. I think that, you know, there might be a few in there that are a little bit the lottery ticket or whatever, what is it, the horse race?
They have a way that they call it, but yeah. Anyway,
and whatever that thing is that he bet on, that seems maybe a little contrived. But everything else, I feel like he earns slowly through the film, slowly with his son, slowly with Jessica Tandy in the house, slowly with because he doesn't go to Hawaii with Melanie Griffith.
That's right.
He says, you know, this isn't the right thing. I don't want to, even though I feel like Carl, your husband owes me money. He doesn't say this. It's just all between looks. Right. He's my buddy, and I want you two to get back together.
Well, you know, what's funny about that moment is it literally plays out exactly the way that Carl says that it will in the poker game. He says, you're not going to get, he says, you might do this for the show, but you're not even going to get near that plane, you know, or whatever. And he actually calls the play on like how it's going to work out. And it sort
true,
of does.
But also Carl looks really worried at a certain point.
Definitely.
Like he doesn't know if he's right or not. And it only turns out that way because Sully makes the decision that it turns out that way.
But there's even a line at the poker game, you know, he's winning the poker game all of a sudden. And one of his buddies even said, wow, when your luck turns around, it really turns around. And it was just that. I'm not saying
Did you feel that, Tony, too? Like that it was a bit forced, the last 20 minutes or so?
That definitely is a moment where you're like, okay, this is a little forced here. You know, I think this is the thing for me is this is a perfect example of a film that if you read it on the page, you read the whole thing, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is a nice little Hallmark movie. Yeah. But because of Benton and because he knew how to place the actors and he knew how to cast it well.
Yeah.
He knew how to do all of that and he knew exactly what he was going to do with the material. It became not that. It still has those flourishes of being that, like with lines like that and stuff that have those little moments that any other director or anyone else involved, it definitely would have been like, you know, one of those lifetime films.
There's definitely a lifetime version of this.
But because of, and that's the dynamic of a really good director, of knowing how to place, knowing your casting and knowing how to place your board, your chessboard with the actors, and you knew what you're casting those actors for specific reasons and for specific performances, right? Knowing that they're going to support Newman and how they supported him, and they knew how big Newman can be, and because of that recipe, because of that stew, because they turned that cauldron and they had it all in there, the recipe was a really good movie, you know, a really great. But if one ingredient was a little off,
right?
And some of it is. Maybe it was maybe it was a little too.
Well, yeah, some of it is, but Newman holds it together.
Yeah.
But that scene definitely. Well, it's very on the cuff, really on the nose, and it just is awkward, and it's
I mean, but I do like your stew analogy because it is So maybe think of like Howard Shore, for example.
Let's talk Howard Shore because that's one of the problems I have with the movie.
To go with your analogy, it's a delicious stew.
Yes.
Everything is kind of working, but maybe Howard Shore is a little bit too much coriander or whatever it is, and same with like some of those lines that you're talking about. Maybe some of those lines are a little bit too much cumin. The stew's delicious,
right?
But Howard Shore is definitely too much garlic salt or whatever.
Yeah, he got a little hokey there. It's surprising to say that about somebody whose music is usually pretty subtle, but like there are moments where I'm just like, your analogy earlier about it kind of veering into Lifetime Hallmark territory. It's like don't do that. Don't emphasize.
You sprinkled a little too much schmaltz here.
It's a little schmaltzy. I will say that I do like the main theme, which is pretty subtle and it's in the credits and stuff. The main theme of the movie works, but like there are moments, when it's just too much schmaltz.
And this is Howard Shore, who ended up doing all his work with Cronenberg, doing some really great stuff.
He's a great composer.
History of Violence, all of that stuff.
Hadn't he just done Silence of the Lambs prior to this, or is that? Yeah, it's prior, right?
It's prior.
I think it's prior.
Yeah, it's like 3 years prior.
It is.
I mean, but he's got like Irish fifes in this and like wind chimes, and it's just like I'm just waiting for a Yanni song to start up at a certain point. I mean, it's
a good thing that Sully wasn't like a fisherman or something,
Yeah, like
who knows what would have happened to the score?
Right. Well, you know what? I don't know Howard Shore, and I've never worked on a film with him, but I'm going to say Network Note.
Yeah.
I'm going to say some of that stuff
100%
was, and who knows what other music Howard Shore did for the film.
Right.
And when they got in the room with the edit and the executives are all sitting there and they're like,
can we give it a little more? Yeah.
How about some Irish, maybe some, what do you think about that?
Some more pan flute, Howard? Well, no. Well, sorry, you're going to do it anyway. No, you're right. It might all come back to Network Note stuff. But, and honestly, I think the man is drastically talented. And it's not that it almost feels inappropriate. I guess it feels over-musicked.
It is over-musicked.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Wall, you know what they say, wall-to-wall music, you got to take some of that music out.
Which might also be an executive note,
Yeah.
Well, and the danger with doing that, of course, with wall-to-wall music in a film is that you're trying to cover up performances or you're trying to camouflage things.
Right.
They obviously didn't need to do that. They didn't need to cover performances or do a lot of that kind of stuff. Maybe in certain scenes, but yeah, it was a little much.
Well, that's a great point, Tony, because it actually, the reason it's so glaring is because there are these great moments that are, I don't want to say they're ruined, funny. but I mean, there's a moment like between Rub and Sully, where Sully's essentially making amends with Rub, because Rub, was his business partner. Dylan Walsh,
when they're sitting on the
picture.
steps.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And there's just wind chimes and clarinets and like
it's a lot going on there.
And Pruitt Taylor Vince is doing all this like great stuff with his face, and like he's tearing up, and like there's some great lines in there, and it's just like sounds like they're in fucking Narnia, and like I was just like. Ready, I just couldn't, with that.
Yeah,
so,
and that, definitely. The music ruins that moment. I mean, it's still good.
It's
moment.
still a great moment.
It's still a good moment, but less is more.
Right.
Less is more.
Tell that to your producer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought the costumes were great. I mean, it has a 90s look at times, but it definitely feels timeless. The working class, stuff that Newman's wearing and everybody. I liked how everybody was dressed.
Yeah.
Kind of schlubby and great.
Well, it's interesting, so the cinematography is also really interesting in that regard. I feel like everything in this, John Bailey shot the thing.
Yep.
Bailey is, fantastic.
Yeah, he's got a lot of interesting stuff in his CV, but this felt a little bit flat and muted, and I think it's all in service of kind of reinforcing that blue collar nature of the town.
I think I probably liked the flatness more than you did. If anything,
I think it's appropriate.
Oh, you liked it? Okay, good.
I think it's appropriate.
I think if anything, I think it feels well shot. I wish it had been a little rougher looking cinematographically for me. And that may be a personal taste thing.
Well, can I say that I feel like there is a bit of a roughness in like the film grains. Like I feel like there's a lot of dark scenes, and that grain like really. And I watched this on Canopy, so maybe it was just it was just like pixelated. But I really feel like there was a kind of a graininess to it that suits the tone of the film.
Yeah. No, I'm with it.
It's interesting how, I don't know, the cinematography in this, to me, was kind of predictable.
Yeah.
It's not super cinematic, obviously.
And it's interesting that the choices they made, I think that you could still do a lot of darker tones and a lot of earth tones, and he could have done a little more with some of the depth and some of the color in the film. But I do understand it's a lot of times when I think wants to be knowable, in terms of all the characters and stuff like that. And I think for this, there is this knowability in how the characters are in terms of their environment and this overlit sort of like feel to it. They do go a little darker in some places and some areas, but yeah, I just, and also Benton's work with Nestor Almodóvar and
Almodóvar,
who's like, amazing. So
King of Natural Lighting.
Yeah. King of Natural Light. So.
What did you guys think of? I mean, I'm guessing that Bruce Willis is sort of losing his hair from probably Moonlighting on.
Yeah,
and I thought that he had an interesting hair job in this. Melanie Griffith looked very, very beautiful. Actually, Melanie Griffith looked amazing, especially in certain scenes.
Sure.
And did you guys notice anything that you liked or didn't like in the hair and makeup, costumes?
He just kept looking like he just got done shooting Blind Date.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. I mean,
he told his makeup person, you remember Blind Date? Yeah, I want to look like that.
He did have that sort of feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing about hair and makeup, wardrobe, everything was meant to evoke the time and place, and I feel like they quit themselves well there.
I agree.
Can I talk about? Okay, so there's a dog in the film.
Okay,
and I believe we first encounter it. We haven't touched on the relationship that Sully has with Bruce Willis's lawnmower.
Oh no, it's a snowblower.
Snowblower, right?
Snowblower.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there's this kind of back and forth of stealing the lawnmower. Okay,
right.
It's cute. It works. At some point, they try to steal it from like a junkyard or something, right? And there's a dog there,
a Doberman Pinscher,
who comes back later in the film, and I can't for the life of me remember why. But also, did anybody notice anything about that dog? Now, maybe it's just me. Tony, I know that you have a really impressive editing background. They used like a 1930s like canned dog sound effect. And I realize that with big studios like this, you usually have a bank of
I didn't
stuff.
notice that.
But it literally sounded like it came out of like the early days of the talkies.
Like Our Gang or something?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It really took me out of those scenes.
Wow.
Go back and listen to that dog.
You have a much nicer sound system than I do. I think
actually, it's really jarring, especially compared to the rest of the mix.
Well, the reason why, it seems like it definitely does seem like there's a moment where we need a barking dog.
Yeah.
And it was added.
Yeah.
It was definitely added after, but in the mix, they just didn't get mixed. They should have mixed it down a little bit so that it had a little bit of maybe distance or a little bit of.
They try to put it in it's definitely like this mono 1930s sound effect that is just randomly in the film. Anyway, but
since we're talking about the dog, I will bring up the fact that Sully gives him some, I don't know, what are they, like tranquilizers or something?
Yeah.
And the dog kind of calms down, but what's weird is it doesn't get sleepy. It just it takes the fight out of the dog, and I didn't really understand how that works biologically. It didn't make much sense to me.
He gave him some Paxil or what are they, a neuro reuptake inhibitor or something. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it just made him less anxious.
And then later the dog is and so Bruce Willis says, "You broke my dog, you can have him." And the dog kind of befriends Sully and just kind of whimpers a lot. And I'm how does any medicine or anything do this to a dog? I've been around dogs since I was a young kid. I've never seen anything like that. That was a bit strange to me.
That was a storyline where I was like, oh, please guys, don't do the old dog metaphor with his character. Yeah. Please don't do that.
Oh, if they had only made the dog
don't.
20 years old, limping along.
Yeah. And then the dog, in the very end, the dog and him look at each other and they have a moment.
Well, the end is the dog it lays lays on his leg,
it does.
And then it pulls back from Sully sleeping in a chair, and I'm like, okay, I guess they get along now.
I think that might have been an arc that they were trying to do, and somebody was like, I think we need to tone this down a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the editing, being editors yourselves?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I thought the editing was, good for...
Pretty invisible.
Pretty invisible.
Yeah.
It looks the way you want it, for a film like this. It was really on the performances. It didn't cut away from any of those moments that we wanted to see. We were like, I want to see him say that. No, it seemed very on point.
Definitely used Newman's looks really effectively. Sure. Good timing on those.
And that's one of the things I really enjoyed about the film, is that even though they had all these other issues going on, it seemed like they really did concentrate on those looks, especially with the sun, with all of that kind of stuff, which I thought was really, really good.
Great moments.
Yeah, I think there was definitely an economy of editing here that I appreciated, because there doesn't really feel like a lot of wasted screen time. I mean, if anything, maybe the stuff with Whacker, and that's about it. But I mean, I feel like every, like even like thinking about like the opening little montage of the town, and there's a lot of storytelling done without speaking. And I feel like some of that is in part due to the editing and the tightness of it. And so I do think it is mostly invisible, but that's to its credit.
And that's sure. John Bloom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's got a famous sister.
Oh, Judy?
No. He's got like a famous actress sister.
This guy edited Gandhi.
He's been around.
That's a lot of work. So I think we've already covered some of this. I thought the choice of subject matter was really fresh. I like a character piece, especially in a Hollywood film that's usually, often plot driven, sometimes to their detriment. I thought some of the weaknesses were the hokiness that hurt the narrative, which we've talked about. The music, Whacker, the son kind of berating the father over and over, back to back to back. It's like, okay, we get it. But overall, I think it's a film that works. I appreciate it. And Newman's performance totally binds it together and makes it win.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. I mean, I feel like it's a really good character study. I also feel like it could have been a play.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Easily. It would have been interesting to see what that would have been like.
Yeah, right.
So
there aren't that many locations, and they probably could condense some into fewer.
They could condense it for sure. Yeah.
Well, so I guess one thing I would want to touch on before we leave off is, do you guys have a sense of what the movie's trying to say or do with this theme park that they're trying to develop there? Is it really just kind of like saying, well, American towns hinge on the backbone of big industry, or because it seems like they go out of their way to make this sort of a theme park that they're planning for this region.
I think
it's kind of front and center in every shot in the main street. There's like a big banner that advertises it's coming, and I don't know. I feel like the movie really wants us to take something from that.
I think it was the idea, of the small town disappearing.
Yeah, corporate America
definitely had that because. Was this, I don't know, politically, like 1994.
Yeah.
So, it's the progress of the capitalist society of like the
corporate America moving in, taking the character out of a small town.
And, so I think it was an it's definitely trying to kind of seep us into that environment of those people and maybe some of the anxieties that are going on with the people that live there and that whole thing. And as a story point, though, I'm glad they didn't. It was there, but it wasn't like
it's background.
It's background.
It's it's a location, as some people might say. It's kind of a background theme. It's not that important to the central story, but it's definitely something that would be on the mind of a character like Sully, like a working class guy who lives in a small town. He doesn't want Walmart to come in and take all the jobs and destroy all the stores.
And in a way, I guess it gives more viability to Tandy's character being rooting for Newman as much as she does, because when kind of contrasted with her son, her actual son, I mean, there's a moment where the Hattie character who keeps like kind of wandering out in the street or whatever, she's kind of gotten out again, and the son is there, but Jessica Tandy calls up to Newman to go take care of it, and I think that's a very illustrative moment.
It is. You're right. She bangs on the ceiling with the broom.
Yeah.
What happens to the son? He winds up messing up a business deal and running away.
Yeah, I guess he flees town.
So I guess that's what Richard Russo wants to say about that kind of person.
About Bill Clinton's America.
Yeah, exactly.
Tony, 3 films you've seen recently,
oh my
old
gosh.
or new, that you'd suggest that the audience check out.
Oh wow.
Well, I think one film I would encourage people to check out is a movie called Candy Mountain.
Okay.
And Candy Mountain is a movie directed by photographer Robert Frank and written by Rudy Wurlitzer. And Rudy Wurlitzer worked a lot with Jim Jarmusch. He was one of the writers of Dead Man.
Yeah.
He's a novelist as well.
He wrote Two Lane Blacktop,
Two Lane Blacktop, exactly. Yeah. And Candy Mountain was a movie that was sort of lost for a long time. It was recently restored. Moonby, with those people there, they did a 4K transfer, and it looks fantastic. It has a Jim Jarmusch feel to it, which is really interesting. So the movie has David Johansen, Laurie Metcalf, Dr. John. It has just a slew. Joe Strummer is in it. Wow. Tom Waits is in it. Wow. It has like a really great cast. And the film is a road movie. And it's basically the lead character is this down and out guy who doesn't really know what he's going to do with his life. He's a guitar player and he plays in bands. And David Johansen has a band that he plays in. There's this guy who's this really amazing guitar player. They don't know where he is, but they want to find the guy. So they give the lead character a chance to earn a lot of money to go find this guy.
Okay.
And so hence this guy has nothing else, doesn't have a job. So then the road picture happens. And all these different people, Dr. John, Laurie Metcalf, all these people he meets on the road on his way. So it's a classic sort of great, wonderful road film. And I thought it was really fun.
Fantastic.
So I recommend that movie.
All right.
I also recommend one director I really like is a director named Robert M. Young. Robert M. Young did some really great films. He did Dominic and Eugene, but he also did movies that were, I feel, ahead of his time. He did a film called Albarista. It was shot in 1977.
El Barista?
Albarista.
Okay.
And it's about a guy living in Mexico who wants to find work. And he comes to the United States. He sneaks in across the border to try to find work. And nobody else at that time were doing movies about this at all during that time. And the way Robert M. Young directs this film with just this realism, it has this really interesting documentary feel to it. It's a really, really great film. And, he also did Short Eyes, which was this film with Curtis Mayfield is in it. And there's a lot of really great, interesting actors are in that
Luis
film.
Guzman, isn't it?
Luis Guzman is in it as well. It's timely. It's just, I think people should see it. I think it's one of those films that it's really great. And then, gosh, I was going to say Inherent Vice for my next film because I love that film. Yeah, it's one of my favorite P.T. Anderson films, for sure. But I think I'm going to say the Van Wenders movie Perfect Days.
Oh, sure.
That movie to me was just so incredibly moving. I love Ozu. I think Ozu is a big inspiration to me and his filmmaking style and just this meditative.
Big inspiration to Wim Wenders.
Yeah, and a big inspiration to Wim Wenders. And that was his sort of love letter to him. And, the movie itself is just a beautiful meditation on life, meditation on these people's lives,
It is.
And toilets.
Yeah, and toilets. Yeah, exactly. But I definitely recommend that film, and that film can be seen, I think, on Criterion and
Criterion
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
easily one of my favorites of 2024.
Yeah,
for sure.
I can go on, but I'll just stop with you said
That's
3.
great.
So.
That's great. Tell us about, do you have any projects that you're working on now?
Well, I just finished a documentary called Sonic Dreams that's going to festivals. Mm-hmm. And I just played a screening in Pasadena. Mm-hmm. And it's a documentary about a local artist. His name is Brian Cooper. He has a website called Earth Like Planets. Definitely check it out. During the pandemic, me and some friends got together and, everybody was seeking community. Everyone was seeking some sort of something to do with people during that time. Sure. So we basically got a bunch of friends who would listen to music. We would basically do Zoom and then play music videos and play music and stuff like that and then talk about the music and stuff.
Nice. Oh.
And through that, I'd already known Brian, but we got to be closer friends, and I presented the idea of doing a documentary about him. So they didn't want me in their house, but but what I did was I went to his house and brought him a bunch of gear and then showed him how to hook it up. And then through a phone, through FaceTime, he showed me his setup, and I would kind of tweak it with him and stuff like that. And we would do these interviews. And because we were doing these interviews this way, there became this intimate quality to him talking about himself because there was nobody else there. So it was just me on a phone, which was a very interesting dynamic because I think if you're ever working in a documentary, getting people to be open and talking can be it can take a long time, to facilitate that trust, But basically, it's him talking about his artistic process of how he creates his art and his music. He lives in Eagle Rock. He used to play music to people in the neighborhood, kind of like how everyone used to bang pots and pans for medical workers. He would play music and to his neighborhood. It was really great. So
that's excellent.
So it's. I'm always fascinated about how artists create their artwork, be it musicians or painters, and I think everyone can, even if you're not an artist, can learn about their inspiration, about how creation happens, And if they're very good at articulating that, a lot of artists don't want to talk about their creative process, but he was able to, and he did. And it's very inspiring. It's a very inspiring piece. And I've had people after screenings, come up to me, oh my God, one screening we had in San Francisco, my son who's 12, he wanted to go out and get, a canvas and start painting. And then found out he's still painting, which is, to me, that's really, really
the documentary
great.
About creating. I love it.
I love documentaries that do that. Like 37 Sounds is another really great documentary if you haven't seen it.
Is it 37? 32.
32. It used to be 32 sounds. I added some sounds there.
That's a great doc. I wish there had been more sounds.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so that is out. And prior to that, I did a film called Tumble, which was a black and white heist, Jim Jarmusch infused film short that I did about a guy who goes to a laundromat after a bank robbery to wait for the guys to come. And while he's waiting at this laundromat for the guys, this woman that he dated shows up at the laundromat and tries to have a conversation with him.
That's great. That's great. Well, how can people find out more about you?
You can go to arablemedia.tv. That's my website.
Can you spell it?
ARABLE media.tv. And you can just look me up, Antony Berrios. I'm definitely everywhere there.
And that's Antony without an H.
Without an H, yes, yes. Otherwise, I'm working on a lot of true crime projects, doing that. So I work as an editor, and I work a lot with in true crime and doing all that kind of stuff. And then I'm also developing a bunch of projects as well. So I'm doing some interesting stuff that's going to be launched soon.
All right. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that. All right. Well, this episode is sound engineered, edited, and mixed by our very own Colin Dixon, produced by William Boudel and Colin Dixon, original music composed by Michael Riola, recorded at Bill's Hollywood Dell in beautiful Hollywood, California. If you'd like to contact us with comments, suggestions, or high praise, email us at cosmicmotionshow@gmail.com or send us a voice message at speakpipe.com/Cosmic Motion. You can find us on the socials at Cosmic Motion or Cosmic Motion Show. Emails, messages, audio, and other media you send us may be featured on this program. Thanks for joining us for this episode. We want to thank our guest, Antony Berrios. We look forward to sharing more thoughts with you on the next one. Colin, anything you want to say before we leave?
Keep the good times rolling or something.
Hear, hear. Until then, keep learning, growing, and creating. Thanks, guys.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.